Hey everyone, Nicole and Alyssa here with Blondes Breaking Down Real Estate. As discussed in our earlier clip, there is a huge challenge in the industry right now. That is that 80% of home buyers have a home to sell before they can purchase. Now, in today's competitive market, having a property to sell and a contingent offer does not make your offer stand out, regardless of the price. But we have a solution. Reef Point has partnered with HomeLight to bring you the trade-in program. And with us today is Richie Helali with HomeLight. So welcome, Richie.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
All right, Richie. So before we go into specifics, can you just give us a brief explanation of the trade-in program? We're super excited to provide this opportunity for our clients, and it solves a huge problem. So can you just explain to us kind of a brief summary of how it works?
Sure, absolutely. So at a high level, essentially the trade-in program allows you to purchase a new home without having to worry about your old one. And the way that ends up working is that HomeLight will actually purchase your old home so that it frees up not only the equity that you need, but also to free up, let's say, the income hurdles, such as your debt to income ratio, in order to qualify for the new loan on the new home and purchase the new one. And it allows you essentially to seamlessly transfer from one house to the other, rather than, taking a detour to maybe to some sort of temporary housing. At the end of the day, HomeLight will give that homeowner 100% of the proceeds at full market value, rather than just buying it cash and saying, bye, see you later.
That is amazing, because previously the only solution for a buyer who didn't want the hassle of having to live in the home and show the home and do all of that was to sell it to an investor or an iBuyer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we wanted to design a program in a way so that somebody didn't feel like they had to go to an investor, go to an investor and end up giving up their home for, let's say, 70 or 80 cents on the dollar. It just makes it fair. I mean, look, if you're the homeowner, the equity is yours. There's no reason why somebody should come in and take 20% of your equity. That's a huge chunk. We're not talking about pocket change.
Absolutely. So, Richie, what do we have to do to be eligible for this trade-in program?
Sure. Well, first off, you do have to come to HomeLight. Currently right now, you do have to come to HomeLight through an approved cash certified agent. So you two are a couple of them,
I don't think we have any in San Diego right now.
Yeah, no, there are very few. We've only provided this program to a handful of agents, in different markets. The purpose of that is because we do rely on our real estate agents in order to help out with valuation, and we do need to work with folks that we feel that we can actually trust. So even if, let's say, you're somebody that, let's say, for example, if you're in an area where you don't know what real estate agent is actually cash certified, that's perfectly fine. You could always just head over to homelight.com, click on cash close, and we can connect you with an agent who is cash certified. So the first step is going to be, to get introduced to us for trade-in through one of those certified agents. And then from there, we would set up a chat where we would take a look at the, kind of look at the numbers on your current property, meaning we're going to look to see how much you owe on it, if you have solar, a pool, all that good stuff. And we're actually going to rely on you two, essentially, to provide us with, your initial valuation of what you guys expect this property to sell, real, full market value, let's say if it were on sale in the market today. We'll use that to essentially come up with the economics of what we expect, to provide somebody, in terms of to free up their equity in order to buy the new one. And then from there, I mean, this really just goes hand in hand with our HomeLight Home Loans product, where, as long as, let's say, you're looking for a conventional, a high balance, or a jumbo loan, you can use that with the trade-in product to seamlessly transfer from the first house to the next.
Okay, so I heard you say conventional, high balance, or jumbo, correct?
Yeah,
so that means
that
we cannot do it with FHA or VA?
Correct. No FHA and VA just yet. Those are two programs that we're looking to launch, hopefully in the near future. Well, at least in the meantime, most folks should be able to qualify, even just on like the normal conventional conforming side. Down payments would be as low as 5% for those folks on those conventional and high balance, and then 20% with compensating factors on the jumbo side right now.
Nice.
So who determines the value of the home they own right now? I know you said the agent does the owner have a say in that? How does that work?
Absolutely, they do. So we don't do a formal appraisal. Instead, we're actually going to rely, really on your CMA that you would provide to us for the client. We'll also chat with the client about, let's say, any upgrades or anything that they feel, adds value to the property. And our team over at HomeLight Homes will do an inspection on the home, termite pool inspection, let's say if they happen to have a pool. So we can get an idea of, if there are any repairs that are going to be required prior to us drilling down the actual numbers.
Okay, so
and essentially we'll use that to come to the value.
Going off of those inspections, say there's, some serious roof work that needs to be done. Is that something that you're going to chop off that price? Or is that something that you're going to say, hey, before we can purchase your home, you need to get like a contractor's quote for this work, or really have, more work done to figure out exactly what that's going to cost, or take
Sure.
care of it prior to you taking the home potentially?
Yeah, it's possible. It depends on the severity of the repairs. So let's say if it's something small, like, hey, in the bathroom, there needs to be some tile work, or, a few things need to be reculked. Normally those are fine. And, there isn't really, much to do. But if it's something more like, hey, there's a problem with the roof, from there, it depends on how severe is the issue. Is this an issue that would stop somebody who's coming to purchase this home from being able to qualify for financing? If so, it's a conversation we would need to have about, okay, this is something that we're going to have to fix, and we're going to look to see how, what the cost is going to be, but also how long it would take. We don't want to necessarily buy someone's house and have to hold it for months and months on end before it's ready to sell. Preferably we would want to, once HomeLight buys the house, we would want to turn around and list it back with you guys to sell in the open market within 10 days. That's the ideal scenario, So, with required repairs, it kind of depends. For the most part, normally what we'll do is, especially if it's not really too severe, these would just be holdbacks. So let's say, for example, if there are $5,000 in required repairs, we'll hold that back from the cash that we would actually provide to your client, so that once they're out of the home and moving into the new one, these repairs can be done. Once they're done, then of course we hand it back to you guys, so you guys can list and sell the house. But at the end of the day, any of the proceeds that come from there are still going to be given directly to the client.
Very cool. So just a question that I've kind of ran into more specific to those repairs, and sorry to harp on it, but this is something I'm dealing with now. Say we have a house and it's kind of a fixer and needs quite a bit. Would you say it's probably not the best candidate for this program?
Correct. If it's a fixer and it needs quite a bit, it's actually highly likely that it's not a candidate for the program. At a high level, think of it as, hey, as long as this home, or let's say the client's old home, is essentially move-in ready for a new buyer, and it's likely, and it is going to qualify for financing, it's in pretty decent condition, if not the best, but let's say even good enough for somebody to move in with no issues, then at a high level, yes, you'll be good to go. But if it's a fixer, let's say there's serious roof damage, maybe a hole in the wall, for example, it's likely not going to qualify for financing for that new buyer. And if the work that needs to be done to the property is, if it has a long laundry list, it's likely not going to qualify for the program.
Okay, fair enough. So let's sorry, Nicole, go ahead. I was just going to say, can we start from like step one? So we said that you find an approved agent, and then and then we come up with the value, then what? Sure,
absolutely. So when our team on the cash side comes up with obviously works with you guys to come up with the value, we'll actually share a spreadsheet and go over a spreadsheet together, not only with you, but also the client. So we can look at everything, in terms of, okay, this is how much it's worth. This is what your loan payoff is, for example, or any liens that they have against the property. Expected repairs. Let's say if there's something that you guys or the client themselves are calling out, fantastic. We could just go ahead and throw those in for now on an estimate. So we could kind of give them an initial net sheet of what to expect. From there, if the client wants to move forward, there are two things that need to happen. One, they're going to need to apply for the HomeLight home loan, which they would actually do with me. Our application is online, but I'm always available to provide all the information in terms of rates and fees and terms and all the good stuff prior.
Just
The second thing,
that's for their replacement property.
yes, exactly, for their replacement property. And then that second step would be our team on the cash side would actually then work to order the inspections on the home, so we can, you know, check to see, hey, is there anything else, you know, or, you know, are the issues that, you know, let's say maybe you or the clients called out, you know, are they okay, and it's not something that really needs to be repaired. Once we have those inspection results back,
Who's paying
then
for that
we'll have
inspection?
HomeLight is. So HomeLight covers the cost of these inspections.
Cool.
Yeah. So once the inspections are back, then our team will sit down again with you guys as well as the client to go over everything. So then that way they can see how everything's going to end up. So technically the way the program works, you know, we're not going to give somebody 100% of the value today. So let's say, for example, the property, or let's say everybody agrees that this property should sell in the open market for, let's say, $1 million. The client's not going to receive $1 million minus a loan payoff, you know, to then go and shop for a new home. Essentially, HomeLight would commit to actually purchasing their home for anywhere between 80 to 90% of that actual value. Okay, and HomeLight would not purchase that new home until they've identified a new property, they've made an offer under contract, and they're within typically 2 to 3 days of closing on that new property. Okay. Now, let's say we get to that point. Fantastic. At this point, we've already figured everything out on the prior residence. At that point, on, you know, about 2 to 3 days before they close on the new one, HomeLight will actually buy their house for about 80 to 90% of the value, transfer the funds to them. They can use those funds to put towards the new one. Then they can move out of the old one directly into the new one. Once that's done and once they're out of the house, we'll actually hand the house over to you guys to sell. You would list it on the open market just as you normally would. You would sell it, and let's say at the end of the day you end up selling it for $1 million, which is what we originally, you know, let's just say what everyone agreed on. Then any additional proceeds from there, minus real estate commissions and minus any fees, would go directly to the client.
Sweet. So let's touch on your fees, because you just hit that fun word.
Yeah.
Fee.
Oh yeah, it's everyone's favorite.
It's everyone's favorite. So what are your fees?
What's the catch?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So the catch is that you know, HomeLight does incur an ownership cost when we purchase a property cash. Okay. So the fee that the client is ultimately going to be charged or really taken out from their proceeds at the end of the day is going to be dependent upon how long this property sits on the market. In advance, part of that original conversation, we'll work with you guys as well as looking up some data in that local market to get an idea of what the days on market are expected to be. You know, let's say if days on market is probably going to be 120 days, it's probably something that we don't want to do, but at the same time, the client likely wouldn't want to do it because, you know, it would come with a huge fee, you know. But we estimate that most homes, once HomeLight takes ownership of the home, gives it to you guys to list and sell, that it would likely take about 45 to 60 days, not only to find a new buyer, but also for them to close. Okay. So, you know, the general fee schedule, assuming the client does use HomeLight Home Loans for the new home on the other side, it's going to be 1% of the future sales price of their old home for the first 30 days, and then 0.5% for every 30 days after that until the home is actually sold. On the HomeLight Home Loan side, however, there are no points, no lender fees. You know, I know that, you know, typically a lot of banks will say, yeah, we have some origination fees, and oh, you want this great rate, so we're going to charge you, you know, maybe a partial point or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up coming out to, you know, anywhere from 1 to 2 points anyways, you know, with most other lenders. That's but true. With HomeLight Home Loans, it's no points, no lender fees. And then on the trade-in side of things, you get to move from your old home directly to the new one. You don't have to take a detour, put your stuff in storage, go live with family. If you have kids, you probably don't want to do that and live out of boxes for God knows how long until you find the new home. But it just makes the process relaxed, easy, and it is pretty cost effective. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's actually cheaper to use trade-in rather than sell, go into temporary housing. Then, you know, ultimately if you have pressured potentially to buy a new home, you may pay too much. You may end up agreeing to buy one that you're not really sold on, just so that you can get yourself out of temporary housing. And, those are all costs, moving 2 times, paying a month-to-month rent, which, I know nobody wants to do, and living out of boxes. Probably not a good idea, really stressful. Like I say, I don't want to do that.
So looking at the HomeLight loan program for purchasing your new property, in San Diego, Alyssa and I are both seeing it's still very competitive. Writing an offer at a 19-day close or a 21-day close is really competitive and has helped us get offers accepted over 6 or 7 others, if that's the right scenario for the seller, obviously. Can you guys do that? How quickly can you close on the new property?
Sure, absolutely. So close timelines currently, and this is with essentially the whole coronavirus pandemic, are going to run anywhere from 21 to 28 days on average. The only reason why, at least in my mind, why let's just say it's taking so long is, for the most part, it's the appraiser availability. Most lenders, most lenders are going to say, yes, we can close in X amount of time, but it's going to depend on appraisal availability. If we order an appraisal today, we might get lucky and end up getting the report back within a couple of days. And if we do, fantastic. But it's also possible that if we order an appraisal today, we may not get the results back until about 2 weeks from now. But if we do need to order, order the or literally place orders with multiple appraisal management companies in order to get that earliest due date, we'll do what we need to do in order to make your clients happy.
Okay.
My question is kind of back to what you were talking about the convenience factor. Something also that I've noticed when I'm listing homes is that when we have 3 kids at home, 2 dogs, and somebody's trying to run around, and especially right now when people are kind of stuck at home, it's really difficult to show that property. It's really difficult to make that property show well. And I don't think that people realize how important it is to get every single buyer through that home in a short period of time to create the highest sales price. So by utilizing this program and you being gone, you're actually going to make up for that 1.5% additional fee plus some on being able to increase demand, being able to make it more available for showing, being able to make it show perfectly clean and ready for somebody else to move in.
Exactly. That's actually a really great point, because not only is it the convenience side of things and the fact that 9 times out of 10 it's more cost effective in order to just walk out of one and into the other, but also when your property is listed, once HomeLight actually owns the home, it's vacant. So whatever marketing plan the client wants to work up, let's say with you guys, for example, or better yet, you guys want to work up with the client in terms of, do we leave it vacant and totally empty? Should we stage it? Or should we do virtual staging? Exactly. All these options are available. And especially now with the pandemic, if you're living inside of the home, you don't necessarily want a bunch of people, coming out and entering the home. So there are a lot of potential buyers that probably also don't want to do that. So even for potential buyers, just by being able to say, hey, the house is vacant, it is staged, come check out the house. Not only will make the client feel more comfortable because, the client's now off in the new home, living happily ever after, but for the new buyer, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable walking into a home that's vacant and staged to view, rather than one where, people live. And especially now, just like you said, yeah, exactly. And just like you said, it's like, we're all living at home, let's just say that most of our homes are probably not as organized as we hope they would be. We're literally not only living at home, we are living out of our homes. We're working at home. We're doing everything at home. We're spending 99% of our time at home. We're only going outside if we're going to the market, and then guess what? We're back at home, So things will pile up. It is what it is. And, if you have to clean up really well, every other day because there's a potential buyer coming to view the house, and then get the whole family out. Yeah, it's like, where are you going to go?
Yeah, I've sold a home before.
Family trip to Whole Foods.
It was horrible. So
yeah.
Okay,
right.
so
Totally understand. Yeah.
Flip side of kind of what we were discussing. You said that you guys purchased the home for 80 to 90% of whatever the market value is. What happens if it does not sell for that 80 or 90%?
Sure. HomeLight would actually eat that cost. So let's say at a high level, The house is $1 million, and we front somebody $900,000 to purchase their home, pay off their loan, give them and give them the ability to move into the new one. If there happens to be some sort of market movement where now, oh no, this house is not worth $1 million, and guess what? Unfortunately, it's not even worth 900, for example. When we provide somebody with that first check, essentially, to move out of their old home, internally we call that their guaranteed proceeds. This is their guaranteed price. If at the end of the day, let's say the property, yeah, exactly, it's guaranteed, So let's say at the end of the day, the property ends up selling for 850,000 or 800,000, or even less. We're not going to come back to the client or anybody to say, hey, somebody has to write us a check for the difference. Once we provide the client with that check, that means that that's the least that they're ever going to walk away with from this property. Obviously our intention from there is to sell the property for more. I mean, it'll be better for everybody. But if there happens to be some sort of unfortunate market movement, HomeLight will essentially take that loss and, take that hit.
You're just not going to answer the call when I call you, right?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. But the cool thing is this actually segues into, who decides how much this house is going to sell for. Mm-hmm. So essentially for the first 45 days or so, even though HomeLight is the actual owner of the house, we're going to consult directly with the client on, or better yet, you guys and us are going to consult directly with the client on any offers that come in. So let's say it's listed for $1 million, for example, and an offer comes in at $950. HomeLight is not going to say, yes, we'll take it, or no, we're not. We're going to share that with the client, and the client has the power to say, yes, let's do it, or no, I don't want to take it. After 45 days or so, let's say if the property is not under contract and not sold, we'll still consult the client, but then HomeLight would just reserve the right to make the decision on, if it's a yes or no.
Yeah. Cool. So that's 45 days. You get the choice. After 45 days, we got to get this thing sold. If an offer comes in at market value, we're taking it.
Yeah, exactly. Most likely yes. For the trade-ins that we have completed so far, we have not had one that went over 45 days with no offer. And this is because when we're looking at the properties, not only we're choosing properties, with inspection results that come back, let's just say fairly okay. Like I said, if there's like a giant hole in the roof, probably not going to work, but also we're investigating the days on market, like I was saying before. If we know in advance that a property in any given area has to sit for 100+ days, it's something that's going to be communicated to the client, because 100+ days, that's a lot of money in fees, and that's a lot of equity that somebody would be, it's just going to strip.
Because just to reiterate, it's 1% for the first 30, is that correct? And then 0.5% for additional 30.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, for example, if it takes 45 to 60 days for somebody to make an offer, get their offer accepted, and actually buy that new house, the original homeowner, essentially can be charged, 1.5% for it.
Wow. Okay.
So it's 1.5% if you're using HomeLight home loans for your new.
Yes, that's correct.
So what if you don't need a loan because you're buying cash, you have enough equity to buy the next house cash, or what if you have another lender that you just love and you won't betray them?
Sure. No, totally understand. Everybody has their preferences. Over here at HomeLight, we do prefer somebody to use HomeLight home loans. The way that the program is set up is so that essentially the trade-in fee is discounted if you're using HomeLight home loans. It's set up in a way where essentially we end up pretty much breaking even, and it just unlocks the opportunity for somebody to be able to move out of one house and directly into the other one. If for whatever reason somebody doesn't have a need for HomeLight home loans, like you said, maybe they are buying cash for the new home, maybe they have their own lender and they feel that they need to use them, then the first month, instead of being 1%, that fee becomes 3%. And then for every month after that, it's still 0.5%. So if somebody, so let's say if, two people, one of them uses HomeLight home loans, their old house sells in, let's say, 45 to 60 days, total fee charged to them is going to be 1.5%. The next person for whatever reason they decide that they don't want to use HomeLight home loans, house sells within 45 to 60 days, then the fee that would be charged to them essentially would be 3.5% instead.
Okay.
So going kind of into that cash versus using the loan, right now rates are so great that a lot of people that sometimes could use cash are still choosing to use a loan because their payments are so low. What kind of rates are you guys offering right now?
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, as you guys know, rates change daily. Depending on the day, it could be a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Yeah, but rates right now, I mean, I'm sure folks have heard a million times, oh, rates are at all-time lows. But it's true. They are literally at all-time lows. So much so that over the past few weeks, there are some folks that we've been locking on 30-year fixed rates, 30-year fixed loans under 3%. Obviously, it's going to depend on the scenario, depend on qualification. But a 30-year fixed.
We'll talk after this if you can get me under 3%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then also it depends on the program. But all in all, let's say for somebody who's pretty well qualified, based on, let's say, today's rates, they would expect, let's say a 30-year fix, for example, to be, high 2s, low 3s. All of our rates, however, are also available on our website. So anybody is always welcome to just give me a call, shoot me a text, or shoot me an email, and I'm happy to price somebody out. But also over on HomeLightHomeLoans.com, anybody can go click on the rates tab. You don't need to log in. You can then just use our rates calculator to kind of pre-fill, the estimation of your credit score, the estimated purchase price and how much you're looking to put down, where the property is and property type. And it'll actually show you what the rates are. It's really as simple as that. But everything and anything that you see over there is always going to be no points and no lender fees. So really the only fees that somebody is going to be subject to are going to be the cost of the appraisal, title escrow fees, and whatever third parties go along with that, such as, first year's homeowners insurance, setup of an escrow account, prepaid interest.
Cool. So if somebody doesn't need a loan because, they have enough unlocked equity to buy cash, but they want to use your program, so they decide to get a loan to capitalize on low interest rates, what's the minimum loan amount that you guys would offer?
Sure, $25,000.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So take that
$25,000 is our minimum.
Okay. Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. We've had several folks that actually relocated from California to other states, which did cost a lot less.
Right.
So their intention was, let me trade in so that I can buy the new one cash. When they heard about what the rates look like and really just the terms of no points, no lender fees, there are two that come to mind right now that literally told me, hey, if that's the case, I'm going to take the loan. There's no reason why I shouldn't. They want to take advantage of having a tax write-off anyways. So it worked out. But I mean, the interest rates, they're in a spot where you could likely take those funds and instead put it towards something else to make it work for you.
Totally. Very cool. Just to reiterate kind of the process so that people understand, because I know a lot of people get confused on this. So step one, come to us or another approved realtor in your area. We'll figure out what the home should sell for. We take it to you guys. We can bring you a guaranteed offer for 80 to 90%. Then you can go write non-contingent offers on your next home. Once one gets accepted on the new home, then they would close. HomeLight would buy your home right before you close on the next home. How long would they have to move from their old home to their new home?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically we'll kind of reserve about like 4 to 5 days for them to move out of the old one and into the new one. And it's only because we prefer to get it listed as soon as possible. We always prefer to get it listed with you guys within 10 days. The client's going to essentially the HomeLight trade-in fee starts, it kind of kicks in the second HomeLight takes ownership of the home. So if we buy the house today, you're being charged starting today, essentially,
right?
Even though you haven't moved out and gone into the new home. And this is also why we wait towards the very end. But in terms of making, let's say, non-contingent offers, so by using the trade-in program, once your old home is approved and we're all set and ready to go, you can make an offer on the new home without a home sale contingency, and our, on the home loan side, at least with HomeLight Home Loans, we use fully verified approvals. So it gets you to the point where, let's say, if you guys feel that it's necessary to make an offer with no loan contingency on the new home, you're welcome to do that as well.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because we're not just doing like a DU approval, or, you know, it's not, let's say, just me looking at a few numbers on a piece of paper and saying, cool, you're good to go. It's actually going to our underwriting team, who is doing a formal full review.
That's great.
Really nice.
That
Makes my job really easy.
Yeah. And like for me, sometimes I'm up against like 4, 5, 6 other offers. Having that no loan contingency makes our buyers competitive with cash. It truly does. How would we provide a proof of funds? Do you guys have anything through HomeLight that we can show the seller that this cash is in like truly unlocked?
Yeah, absolutely. So on one hand, your client will have access to a pre-approval letter, assuming they go through HomeLight Home Loans for the new home. Well, not only that, one thing I forgot to mention actually is that once your client applies, our team works to get them approved for the maximum allowed based on the information they provide to us. So when they are approved, you and them will know what their maximum numbers are. So let's say if they're looking to buy a new home for, I don't know, $1 million, and they happen to find one that's perfect. You guys, but let's say costs a little bit more. Nobody has to come back to me and say, hey, Rich, so we found one, but it's 1.1. Do we qualify? Well, they're already going to know in advance if they qualify or not. And when they log on to HomeLightHomeLoans.com, once approved, they're going to have the ability to generate their own approval letter and put down whatever numbers they like, as long as they're approved for those numbers.
Very cool.
On the other side, on the HomeLight trade-in, you know, let's say, for example, if the seller requires proof of funds, we'll provide that. You know, we'll show proof essentially of, you know, hey, these funds are there. They're going to be there by closing, you know, because once your client's in contract on the new home, we're going to provide them with what we call our trade-in agreement for the old home. At that point, we've committed to buying the house. You know, there's essentially no turning back.
Cool.
Okay,
So,
question real quick. I got to go for it.
Go.
Okay, so a lot of the homes that we're seeing on the market, especially here in San Diego, since it is so competitive, like I mentioned previously, they're putting the home on the market Thursday, and in the confidential remarks, it says that offers are going to be reviewed on Monday. Say I find that perfect home. Is that enough time? Is 2 to 3 days? Like, what is the turnaround time from the day I find the perfect home for me and my family to move to when I can put that non-contingent offer in and know that we've got this good to go?
Sure, absolutely. So we're running an average right now on 5 business days. On the home loan side, at least, it's you know, it's going to be 24 hours, or better yet, let's just say 1 business day from the time the client applies to when it's reviewed by underwriting and potentially approved. When it's approved, then at least at that point, it's a verified approval. On the other hand, for the trading side,
sorry, Richie. I think they'd want to be approved like well before going out and shopping for.
Totally. I'm just saying,
yes.
Sometimes you see people that are, or you talk to people that have seen, they just were shopping online and they saw how they're deciding they want to buy and they want to sell and they got to do it quick.
Gotcha.
What's the quickest turnaround time possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the trade-in side, because we do have to review the old property and do potentially 1 or 2 inspections between a regular inspection, maybe pest or a pool, for example, we do have to wait until those inspections come back to then provide somebody with those final numbers. So in an ideal scenario, if somebody is even thinking about, potentially moving and they currently own a home, great, apply. But not only for the home loan, but also on the trade-in side. It's not going to cost them anything. Even if at the end of the day they decide, you know what, I'm not going to move, it just didn't work out or whatever the case is, that's fine. No harm, no foul. It doesn't cost a thing. But for those folks that find that right property right away and it's a dream home, they have to do it. We'll do what we can to go ahead and rush things through. But typically it'll take about 5 business days from the time that they say, I want to do this, to the time where in an ideal scenario, not only they're going to be approved for the home loan, but also the old house is then going to be, approved for trade-in. And then at that point, they can immediately go ahead and make that offer without the home sale contingency.
Very cool. So back to our little timeline. So they close on the old house, they move to the new house in about 4 or 5 days. We list the old house, we get a buyer, we close, and then they get the remainder of whatever that market value is minus the fees back to them in a check.
Yep.
Very
cool.
Cool.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Anything else we should know about the program or any other questions, Nicole, that you have?
I was just going to say, what's, you know, what's the best way to get a hold of you? What is your, we'll definitely link your website and your email and everything like that into our episode notes, but I'm hopeful that everybody watching this show at least goes and does some more digging into your website and at least, you know, reaches out with any further questions that they may have. But what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, no, really just a phone call, an email, or a text. It's really just going to be whatever works best for you. And that's going to be whether you have an agent or not, just really depending on, let's say, where you are. You know, if you happen to be in, I mean, look, if you happen to be in the San Diego area, well, I think everybody listening to this knows where to go, you know. But at the same time, well, let's say, for example, if you're in Los Angeles or you're in San Francisco or somewhere in between, for example, and you don't have an agent and you don't know if your agent is already certified for this program, you're welcome to reach out, and I could then refer you to an agent who is. And you as a client can make a decision on what you prefer to do.
Awesome. And do you guys do other loans besides just these HomeLight trade loans? You do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Refis?
So you don't have to use trade-in in order to use HomeLight home loans. So even if you're just looking for a home loan, it's still going to be no points, no lender fees. The rates are still going to be competitive. And the rest applies. We're still going to do a full upfront underwrite to ensure that you're fully approved for a property prior to making an offer. So all those values don't change a thing.
Very cool. Can people use this as kind of a backup plan too? So if they want to go shopping, if they want to have their home listed and go shopping and try to line everything up, and then if it doesn't line up, then they have this as a backup. Is that doable as well?
Got it. So not necessarily. I mean, at a high level, we prefer that the properties that we accept for trade-in are not already listed. And that's because we just don't want, the history of the property to show, hey, it was listed, then it was taken off, and now it's back on. But on a case-by-case basis, it is possible. But in a perfect scenario, let's say it would be, hey, we haven't listed it yet. We just want the information for now. No problem. We're happy to run the numbers for your clients, and then just go from there.
Awesome.
I learned a lot.
I learned a lot too.
Thank you, Richie, so much for coming on today. Melissa, if you have anything else to add?
Just like, follow, and share these videos so that we can keep bringing you cool programs like this and education and making real estate a little easier one day at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Richie. We will talk to you soon. Hopefully be bringing you a few clients here in the near future. And we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you all soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.